And I recognize MPP Shamji.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning, everyone, and welcome back from the constituency period. I hope everyone had a productive time. Minister Surma, how many of your and the Premier's donors will benefit from this legislation?
I'm not even sure how to respond to that question, to be honest with you. What we are here to discuss today is the fact that we're centralizing real estate authority so that if there is a circumstance in which an agency or an entity would like to dispose of property, there will be a process in which it must follow and government will have oversight. And again, the purpose of this is to have
Minister,
better...
I understand the purpose.
With all due respect, I would like to...
I didn't get the answer that I needed, so I just would like to redirect you, since I didn't get that answer. Will you provide a list of your stakeholders that you've consulted with and your phone logs so we can compare against your donor lists?
We consulted with the ministries that are responsible for the agencies in question, and we consulted with the agencies that are impacted by this legislation.
Will you provide the information?
The list is in the legislation. You have the list before you.
May I request your phone logs as well?
The list of agencies.
You can request it, but it's up to them to decide what they want to do.
And I'm curious to hear her answer, Chair.
The list of agencies that were consulted are included in the legislation which is before you.
Mr. Surma, would it in theory be possible for a Minister of Infrastructure to only grant one of these entities its request to dispose of land once the government has lined up a preferred buyer? Now, I don't mean to be conspiratorial about this, but we all saw what happened with Greenbelt land swaps. The government found a way to reward its friends. Could this legislation be used for that purpose?
The purpose of this legislation?
Point of order recognized.
Motive. He's imputing motives to the government, which the government...
Absolutely not, Chair. And
which is inappropriate according to the rules.
The member across is weaponizing your points of order to disrupt our questioning.
I am not. I think just to ask Chair that they abide by the rules and not impute motive.
So everyone, we have to have civility and we have to go by the committee rules. So you can continue, and I stopped your time and we'll restart it now.
I appreciate that very much, Chair. So again, could this legislation be used for the purpose I described? For example, to ensure that these sales are only used once the government has lined up a preferred buyer, as we saw with the Greenbelt?
The purpose of this legislation is to share information about real estate transactions. Should there be an entity that wants to dispose or acquire land, there is now a process in place. They will have to seek the minister's approval, LGIC approval. This is to give the government a holistic view of real estate transactions, so that should there be a need that could be met, government can make that deliberation.
So how will LGAC and the minister prevent any conflicts of interest, as we have seen repeatedly under this government?
There will be a process.
What is the process?
The process is that should an agency want to dispose of land, they will have to seek the minister's approval, the ministry's respective ministry's approval, and LGIC.
And we have seen that process has been entirely unsatisfactory under this Premier and this government. So how will the process be improved? Again,
should the entity in question want to acquire or dispose of land, there will now be a process in place where they will have to communicate with their respective ministry and seek LGIC or MOI approval. So that government has oversight, government is aware of the transaction, and should there be an opportunity for this parcel of land to serve a greater purpose for Ontarians, government can make that deliberation.
What I'm hearing is that this government is introducing legislation that is entirely centralizing power, that has zero oversight or conflict of interest protections, and that has the great potential to continue what we have seen under this government of repeatedly using government decisions and government power to reward friends and donors, and that is entirely unsatisfactory. I'm also hearing that no thought has been given whatsoever to implement any of those protections. So I'll ask you again, have any safeguards been considered to oversee the Executive Council in order to prevent these things from happening again, or are we just going to have to wait until the next RCMP criminal investigation?
To the member opposite.
Thank you, Minister, for your time today, and the committee will now recess till 3 p.m.